just like to make a very quick introduction. So for those of you who are not aware, what's going to happen is that this 1 hour session will be a joy of digital marketing extravaganza. So I hope you'll be able to take up some of the lessons on video and mobile marketing. For those of you who follow digital marketing trends, you will have noticed that the key areas of growth have been in these two areas, and we have an expert panel today who will hopefully share with you some insights and give you some inspiration on the things you might be able to take away as part of today. So I would like to pass over to Cindy, who will be able to talk about the things, and then we've got Tina, we've got Phil, and we've got Richard, who will provide us with a short introduction of what they would like to say. So they will have their position statement, and then afterwards you will have about half an hour's time to really sort of go into some of those issues and use this as an opportunity to cross-check some of your ideas, some of the thoughts that you might have, and hopefully take some things that might be useful for your day-to-day business running or your career or other things that you might be able to do. Okay, so without further ado, I would like you to pass over to Cindy, who's going to give us a brief overview of digital and mobile and video. So,
okay. So hi everyone. Let's see. So,
yeah, that's you.
So I'm going to have to cheat.
You can
yeah.
see the screen.
Okay, so I spoke this morning. My company is Mobile Moxie. I'm the CEO. We do mobile SEO, mobile marketing consulting. And so we're going to go through top 3 video tips, right? And then top 3 mobile tips. So first, top 3 video tips, obviously, know your technology. And for right now, it's time to be transitioning away from Flash and towards HTML5 videos. HTML5 videos are cross-device. They work great on mobile phones, but also work fine on smart TVs and stuff like that. Flash is heavy. It doesn't work well on mobile, and it's old school proprietary technology, whereas HTML5 is evolving and advancing. Mark up your videos with the appropriate metadata and schema. So this is the code that goes behind the video, and it tells crawlers what the video is about. Beginning and ending times, all these things you can put into metadata so that the search engine knows how to rank it, when it should turn up in a search result and when it shouldn't. And there's no point in making content if you're going to hide it or not make it findable. So marking it up makes it findable. And then next problem is if you don't add transcripts or closed captioning. Again, for the same reason, but an additional reason, adding transcripts or closed captioning gives context to digital things like search engine crawlers and other kinds of bots, so that they can understand the content better, because they can't appreciate a beautiful video or touching video, but they can't appreciate the text or the words that are spoken in the video, but they can't listen. So you have to write it out, put it in the code, mark it up so that it's crawlable, and then you become relevant for the words that are spoken in any kind of video that you do. And this is true of audio as well. You can add transcripts if you're doing podcasts. That makes them show up for the keywords, and that gives you an audience where you might not have had one before in terms of being found. Okay, so then top 3 problems to avoid for mobile. So number 1 is don't avoid apps or don't ignore apps. Apps are a huge part of the marketplace, and they're growing very quickly. Just 2 weeks ago, Google announced that they're going to make apps indexable like web pages, which means that not only can you rank an app that is in the App Store, but you can rank screens within an app, just like you're ranking pages within a website. And so that means that the stuff that's been locked in an app is now findable, and it's now going to be competing with websites for search engine rankings. And it used to be, this is in the technical space called deep linking, where you can link, right now, you can link content on your website to corresponding content in your app. And it's always required web parity, where you have one and the other. But Google said clearly that that's not always going to be the case, that very soon app content is going to be able to rank on its own without web content, which means there's going to be a whole new set of entrants and players and pages, which are screens and apps that can rank. And so it's a new market. They also said that you're going to be able to, if you don't have an app installed, you're going to be able to play it or use it from the cloud. They're going to be running virtual devices in the cloud so that you can use an app that's not installed on your phone, which may mean or will likely mean that the operating system that the app is built for doesn't matter as much anymore, that I could run an iOS app on my Android phone because it's being run from a device in the cloud. Very cutting edge, very cool. You don't want to miss out on that. Sorry, that's long. That's where I'm passionate. Okay, don't assume single device behavior. People are multi-device creatures at this point. Very few of us watch TV without a phone or a tablet nearby, sometimes a phone and a tablet, maybe even a laptop. And assuming people stay on one device is wrong. With the more interactivity like Bluetooth and casting, Chromecast is $35. What does that translate to? Not very many. £20. Quid? 20 quid? Sure. Cheap, right? So you can put one on every TV that you've got, and then any phone or any device or computer that you've got can cast, can send whatever is on that screen to the TV. It works with old computer monitors too. Anything can goes over Wi-Fi, and so you're joining all your devices. So now you don't have to have a tablet if you have a phone that can run Netflix from the phone to the TV. Why would you buy the tablet? So thinking about these things and the way that the devices work together, and then the Android for the car, Android Auto, knowing that the phones and tablets are going to be able to communicate with other devices like cars, like your thermostat with the Nest, understanding that that's all happening already, and it's growing. William Gibson says, the future is here, it's just not widely distributed yet. It's totally true. Last thing, don't ignore file size for apps or websites. This is critical, and it's something that Google's paying much more attention to now. They're doing the 2G Thursdays or Tuesdays? Anyway, they're paying much more attention to people who are on slow connections. You can laugh, I heard. I think it's Tuesdays. Paying much more attention to people on slow connections, and you can't always control the connection that people have when they're accessing your content. So making sure you're planning for the worst case scenario so that they can still have the best case result. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
I might stand up. I can't quite see the screen as well. So.
You could come here.
Shall I come over there?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, careful with the breeze.
Hi, I'm Tina Judica, Managing Director of digital marketing agency Found. We're based down in London. Right, so my top 3 video optimization mistakes to avoid. The first one is, some of these are really, really logical. Unplayable content seems to be the most logical thing that we could actually possibly think about, but this is actually still happening. The example I've used here is actually incorrect. I must say that ASOS are extremely good in terms of their content and being able to access that content and the level they're taking that content to. But this is happening time and time again. By 2019, the expectation is that 69% of all data that we consume will be video. It's absolutely huge. It's really driving forward quite considerably. Ignoring ranking factors. So quite similar to what Cindy was saying, it's not simply a case of, hey, here's a video. Here's a video, what should I do with it? Let's hide it away, let's not tell anybody about it. You need to treat it in the same manner that you would your website in terms of your pages as well, and really understanding what the ranking methodologies are that need to sit behind it. You need to be able to tell Google, what is this video? What is it? What is it about? What are the keywords that might be mostly associated with it, so Google feels like it's logical to be able to show that video within the results. It's not simply a case of, here's a video, pop it up, someone will find it on YouTube. No, they won't. And no and poor campaign targeting. So this is more around the paid aspect of video as well. So again, what I've certainly seen a lot of is people not creating a campaign that sits around targeting that particular video. Who are they targeting? Who is the audience? What do they want to do with that video? So as a result, what is the campaign that I create to actually support that video? You could spend hundreds, thousands, millions of pounds with YouTube if you don't create a campaign for it and understand exactly who you're targeting, what you're willing to pay for it, and actually measuring the result as well. Okay, mobile optimization mistakes to avoid. Driving mobile traffic to a non-optimized site is unbelievable. There are so many sites out there that are still not, you can't operate. I'm going to show you this one now. This is Next. We all know Next, right? It's a desktop. It's a desktop. This is Next. And Next have been doing phenomenally well as a business. They've really been growing. They've been selling more brands and really expanding as a business. Yet this is what I have to navigate through. on the site. It's really, really difficult. You compare that to someone like BuyAGift, and BuyAGift it's helping me understand. It's bigger, it's easier, there's bigger buttons to click. If we think of mobile, it's search, search, search. Let's get through as quickly as possible. I can't do that on Next. I can do that on BuyAGift. And these are just a couple of other examples, taking it a little step further. So over here, Eon Energy, I've never visited the Eon Energy site before, and this is the landing page that I get. It's presuming that I'm already a customer. I'm not a customer, I don't know anything about them. There's nothing exciting there, they're just telling me to log on. Excellent, tell me more about you. Let's go and find someone else. EDF Energy, they've taken this slightly differently. They've assumed that you're not a customer, but they've created a message for you that says, actually, okay, this sounds quite interesting, but if I am an existing customer, I can click on here. So a lot of it is also Mobile Optimizer site, but also communicates to the audience correctly. And a lot of that can be achieved through CRO, personalization, and the data that you can capture from that in order to speak to the audiences. But I still find it quite phenomenal that there are big businesses out there that are just not doing a great job. Mobile is massive. They need to get on top of it. Ignoring intent. So this is another factor as well. So mobile experience is very difficult. It's very different to a desktop experience. These are just giving some examples here in terms of the time. So in terms of hours, the time that we spend on our mobile is quite considerable to what we spend on desktop. In terms of location searches, we're searching a lot more around location-based terms than we would do on desktop. Are we serving the content to be able to support that? What is it that the user is actually seeking? Look at this one near me. This is huge. You're on a mobile. Where's the nearest Starbucks? How do I get there? How do I serve that level of information? It's about understanding, what is this person particularly looking for? Are they in the vicinity? Am I trying to drive football? Am I just trying to capture a lead? Am I just trying to provide some information? Mobile is a huge research resource, and it's not necessarily action-based. There is a lot of action-based on there, but research is huge. So you've just got to be able to identify what is the intent and serve accordingly. And then my final one is optimizing to last click. There's a huge amount of talk, and has been since ever in our industry, about attribution and understanding exactly what drives traffic. So us as a digital marketing agency, we're serving traffic, serving media and driving traffic across different mediums. Might be a display ad, might be a video ad, it might be search. Now, what you can potentially see is who drove the last click. Oh, that came through a Google search on my brand. Oh, brilliant. Okay, excellent. Then that's where I'm going to spend more money. But who helped them get there? Now, the problem you have with mobile, it is quite clear, it's not very clear on this screen. The problem you have with mobile, as I said, is that this is from Google. A lot of it is a research tool. So if we look at the top in terms of offline research, online research, and there's just the different types and methodologies that you're using. This is pure offline, whether you're looking on a desktop or tablet, or whether you're also looking on a smartphone. So the top areas, this is where the propensity to purchases. The propensity to purchase is quite high. Sorry, what I want to drive down, because I'm realising I'm taking so much time up. Scroll to the bottom here, online purchase on smartphone, online purchase on smartphone, online purchase on smartphone. Can you see how low that is? It's really low. 2% when anybody is researching offline, 3% when anybody is actually researching, and it's still only 14% when you compare it to other channels. But mobile is huge. So I've seen companies make decisions not to invest in mobile, not to create a site that is mobile optimized, not to drive traffic to mobile because they're looking at it purely on a last click basis. Oh, a few more quick stats there. 28% of mobile searches result in a store visit, call or purchase. 73% of mobile searches trigger additional actions. So again, it's about additional actions and propensity to do something. And mobile searches are goal-oriented. There's always something. You just have to identify what is it that the user is trying to search for and help them on their way. Thank you.
I'll try and control the hands as well. I'm tempted to. Right, cool. So my name's Phil. I'm the head of search at Delineo. We're an agency based in Manchester under a train arch opposite the Lowry, so you might have seen us. And yeah, let's dive straight in. So my first kind of video mistake is procrastination. I'm guessing that everyone here has a smartphone. Pretty much everyone's video enabled. And there's loads of people on YouTube. It's the second biggest search engine. Everything else. And what we see is that it's kind of like when you're with a client and you go past the kind of the usual digital marketing space and you kind of move into video, it's like, oh my God, it's video. You know, it's like we need to do special stuff now. Not really. You kind of need to get in there, get the data and find out, does it work for you? I don't think there's any, I think there seems to be a bit of an invisible wall with video. So we found that when we've got straight in there and started getting the data, we can get results a lot quicker than kind of waiting. Oh, that script needs to be seen by this person, the next person. You're not creating the next Star Wars. You're creating a product video that is probably to sell your lovely white product. And then, like sort of Tina said, we're not really thinking about what your audience needs. It isn't TV. It's like, when are they going to watch this content? So a lot of the comparisons we were looking at in terms of TV can be quite passive. People have it on. So a lot of the stuff, the kind of thing that we're in our head around what you can put on TV and get away with, you can't really on internet video, YouTube. And then, kind of threw a stat in from Google there that millennials, I don't like that word really, but there's twice as likely to be focused watching a video on their smartphone versus TV. When you got them for that moment, so Google's all about moments now as well, and micro moments, capturing people at that right time. Just putting your video out because you think you like it or because your boss likes it. Just switch that thinking. Think if I was the audience, what do they want? What do they want to see? What do they need? How am I solving an issue that they've got? And then putting all the good stuff at the end. So this thing was, where's your brand? The brand's in the last frame, or where's the offer? And who's that guy that's speaking? I can't remember who did it. I think it might have been Harvey Nichols, where this guy talks to the video, and they never introduced him. It could have been anyone, and you didn't know it was them until the very end when it's kind of like go to the URL. And it's also like when we've watched videos and people have kind of gone through the whole process, like, why didn't you mention we've got that offer? Just you need planning. As much as it's great to dive in with the right ingredients. Mobile. So this one again kind of goes into what Tina was saying. It's kind of not streamlining the process and just porting your desktop website to a mobile, or we've got an app now, so it's not. I mean, things like one-click buying. So obviously it's Black Friday on Friday. PayPal are doing a one-click checkout, so you can log into your PayPal account, and so you haven't got to mess about the two fields you have to fill in. You haven't even got to do that now. You just press the button and you've bought something. Obviously they're doing that for mobile. And then a nice little David Brent type quote there: "Speed thrills and friction kills." Everyone in the office said you can't say that in public. I was like, oh, there you go. But it's true. It's kind of when we're on our mobiles, it's normally in between things, or you're not there for the full-on experience. You just want to buy something. So think speed, and especially when it comes to forms, people have fingers. So small buttons, like the next example is the perfect one. People are still doing it. We're talking about mobile for about 5 years now. We're still seeing it. And then this one, yeah. So it's okay. We've got a responsive website now, sorted. And yeah, one of my friends, this did actually happen. Me and my friends have a great time, and we're looking at websites, and it's kind of like, yeah, they've got a really good site, and I'm showing them when you sort of minimize the browser, it goes all responsive and everything slots in. They're like, yeah, but what does that mean? It's kind of like, and that's it exactly. Customers don't care that your website is responsive or that it looks great on mobile. They just want to do the things that they're there for. So once you've got your nice responsive website, don't just think that the customer journey's done. Keep going, keep refining. And then, yeah, again, not thinking about mobile attribution. So the one that gets me is when people are on the smartphones, yeah, people do actually call people on phones. Now it's not massive, but they do it. And a lot of we pick up a lot of clients. We see things and in discussions. What happens is that no one measures the phone calls. So, oh, it's great, yeah, we've got this great tracking on the button. So when people fill the form in, or when people ask for a call back, we can get it straight into AdWords, straight into analytics. But actually the phone calls, like, yeah, people do ring up, but what? People ring up. So Google make this easy. There's things like click-to-call extensions. So use everything that's available, or even use phone tracking that is pretty, it's not that expensive, and you can drastically, improve, get a much better picture of what your audience does. You might actually find that your audience in your sector, so some things where trust is a big thing, so like insurance, those kind of, or financial services where people just want to talk to somebody. If they're on the phone, they are more likely to do it. So just saying, oh, you know, we've got a responsive website, so it all looks great on the phone, and ignoring the phone is a mistake that does rile me.
Last but not least.
Okay, afternoon everybody. I'm Richard George, Director of Organic Performance, based at MEC here in Manchester. My role at MEC is the SEO and strategy, and these are some of the clients that I work with. I've been working in this sector about 17 years, and if you go back to the beginning and you say, can you come and speak about mobile and video? It probably look like this, and I actually own those 3 phones that were highlighted, so it shows how much this market's moved on. 17 years is a very long time in this market. So what are my top 3 video mistakes? The first one is the audience. I think the guys on the panel here have referenced it a little bit already, but you're going to produce a video. Who for? I'm a brand, I'm a business. Great, let's produce a video. But who is it that you're actually wanting to target with that specific video? There's some questions that you can ask here. Who are they? What do they think? What do they do? What do they do in your category or your sector? And ultimately also, who influences them? Because that can impact where you actually start to see that video. And once you understand your audience, what do you actually want them to do when they engage with that video content? What do you want them to think? What do you want them to feel? And what do you want them to do? We use a very simple mechanism called steps. So you can apply this to any content, but specifically around video. Will it give somebody social currency? Does it make them look good? Does it have a trigger? Does it have an emotional or a practical value? Is there a story or a public connection? So you know your audience, then what do you want that audience to actually do when they watch that video and they engage with that video? And where are you going to host it? YouTube. Video, everybody says YouTube. Yeah, brilliant. Why? It's the second biggest search engine. That's fine if you're doing it from visibility and a brand point of view. What happens if you're trying to grow the authority of your site? What happens if you're going to try to increase the number of links and citations to those pages to boost the authority of your site? There are other platforms you can use, and there's 2 here we've used before, Wistia and Brightcove, where you can actually, anybody shares that video content, the links and the citations you get will drive the authority of the site. You can put the video on YouTube, but why don't you put the video on YouTube 2 or 3 weeks later after you've launched your video through your PR or your outreach activity? And this is a great stat. We work with a small company in Manchester called Mighty Giant who do brilliant video and CGI production. They do a lot of work with the BBC over here at Media City. And they shared this with me. 8 seconds is all you've got to grab somebody's attention with video content. Keep it to maybe 1 minute 30 at the most. If you can tell your story if you can get your message across in 1 minute, even better. But 8 seconds is all you've got to capture somebody's attention. Okay, top 3 mobile mistakes to avoid. Again, the guys here have mentioned some of these before, but it's so common these days to still have a separate website for mobile. An M.mobile website, not responsive. But also when you're on that M. You can browse the products, you can browse the services, but if you want to buy them, it redirects you back to the desktop. And then you're having to expand out the website, and you're having to type in tiny, so just pure basic optimization mistakes. Viewing it on a mobile device and then redirect it on your mobile device and back through to desktop. Interstitials or pop-ups, basically. I'm on a mobile device, you recognize that you're on a mobile device, download my app, pop-up. It disrupts the user experience. It's a poor way of trying to drive more people to download apps. And as Cindy said, there is a real growth in the last 2 weeks, especially in Google, in app indexing and how Google will start to index that content. So you don't need to do it, and Google doesn't like if you do it as well. And finally, I love this slide, and we were talking about it. I got this from Google, and we were talking, I think Tina got this from Google earlier this year. This is a typical journey through the day of how the consumer interacts with multi-different devices. So whoever's up at sort of 3 a.m., they're on the tablet or the smartphone, I'm not quite sure. But as the day goes, as you travel to work, to college, to university, you're on your smartphone. As you get into your office, you swap over to desktop. When you start to come home, you maybe do a bit of sofa surfing, multi-device if it's in the family, and you go back to tablet and desktop. But this is typical of a journey of how the consumer interacts with your brand. But in the last 12 months, I've had 2 conversations with marketing directors of global brands who both said to me, can you pull a business case together why I need a mobile responsive website? I think that says it all. But if they needed more, you can look into their analytics, and about 65% of all web traffic is on a mobile device these days. So it's mandatory. It's not a business case. So this is, I think, one of the key mistakes that still happens across global brands. Thank you.
Okay, guys, so now here's the opportunity to dig deeper into some of the points that have been mentioned. Are there any questions? I think we've got, yeah.
My name's Kaz, I'm from SockMed, a social media company. We've completed our website and we're looking into doing a video. Obviously, from what the research we've done and information people say, it's a good way of telling people what your business does in hopefully 60 seconds. There's so many places you can go to, from Fiverr to some guy charging you thousands. How do you pick the right person or the right company? I mean, it's a bit of a vague question, but you have to start somewhere, don't you?
Okay, so I suppose the question, to just repeat for those who haven't heard, is if you were to small business, you were looking at a brochure type of business kind of introductory video, what would be your recommendation for a smaller business? I guess Richard has the pleasure of speaking to a number of, with a larger budget, it's not as difficult, I guess, but Fiverr seems very tempting for a small business, would you say?
I mean, I would have, if you're a small business and you're on a limited budget, don't just think about the video production, think about how you're actually going to amplify it. Again, I think as Tina said, if you've got a budget and you can get a decent quality production video done, how are people going to find it? If nobody knows about your brand, where are you going to amplify that? So are you going to put PR behind it? Are you going to put paid search behind it? How are you going to push that video out so people find it? So yeah, look at using percentage of your budget to amplify it and try to find somebody who's got a decent quality, low-cost product to start with. That works well. Then when you're making more money, why don't you invest in something maybe a little bit more professional, a little bit more high scale budget?
What's the percent that you go? Because I would say 50-50.
It depends on what he's trying to do, I think, with the market. But yeah, 50-50 could be a good shout.
Okay, I guess if it's a Fiverr, that means $5 to produce your video, so that means $2.50 to create the video and $2.50 to do the amplification.
But do your research as well. I mean, there's so many local companies and people are willing to help each other. Look at the videos that you think are good videos and good representations of that business. Find out who created that particular video. Look at their portfolio, see what they've done, and then you can make a really good judgment as to whether your money's being invested correctly, because it's all in good having somebody say, I'll do it for £500, and it's crap. When actually it is worth you investing £3,000 and actually having a video that's really going to stand on its own 2 legs and is something that's actually worth promoting in the first place.
I probably shouldn't say this, but there is another university in Manchester who we did some work with, and they actually have a whole sort of part of the business unit. They wanted to send the video production people out into business to help them make videos so they could use it as part of their projects, and then they could actually use that as a reference. So probably shouldn't mention who.
Glad to say that we have some alternative.
Brilliant.
I'm sure. So obviously there are universities, or other universities around the world that are available. But yes, absolutely. There are loads of students, and actually quite a lot of them in this room, who are looking for projects, who are looking for a portfolio. And if you're looking for an opportunity to develop their skills, that's certainly quite a good idea. But plenty of neighbours are happy to help out as well. Tina, Phil, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, I'd say don't use Fiverr. That'd be my tip for that. And think about where it's going to go. So if it's going on your homepage, because I think amplifying the video is definitely the thing you need to think about, but don't amplify a video that's not worth amplifying at the same respect. So if this is a welcome to our business, this is what we do, it's going to need a bit of amplifying if it hasn't got a hook or it's not solving a problem. If it's just, you kind of, we're new, everything. So you might want to kind of think about your homepage showroom video as being one thing, and then maybe think about another video that maybe solves the big problem that you solved. It's a 30-second, this is what we do. Because there's a lot of kind of nice vanity videos on the front of homepages these days where it looks great in HD and it's probably had a thousands of pounds worth of budget, but it's kind of like, yeah, it's there because people will watch it, but I don't think it serves any purpose. So more things to think about probably than you wanted, but definitely, you know, it's the same things. It's the purpose of it, and students are a great way in.
Okay. Tina, are you happy with those views? Yes, brilliant. Okay, guys, does that answer your question? Okay, so we got somebody else. Any thoughts or questions? Yes, Sophie, right in the second one. Sorry, just a second. Yeah.
When you're reporting back to your clients, what are your preferred key performance indicators, and do you try and leave out any vanity metrics, and what would they be? And that's probably a panel-wide question.
I can kick off again if you like. It depends what we agreed at the start of the campaign. So if you're going to produce a piece of content, we're talking video content, but it could be any content. Why are you doing it, and what do you want to achieve out of it? So if we're doing it for pure SEO reasons, are we trying to get link citations, increase the page authority? Are you doing it purely to look at social metrics, looking at visibility from shares? So it all depends what you agreed at the start, and you can use a lot of analysis and data to try to understand what you realistically would expect to get from that investment.
Yeah, I'm thinking we recently did a bacon video, so bacon. Hello, bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah, there you go. That's the next one to do. Write that down.
Breakfast.
Yeah. But you know, baking. So Great British Bake Off was on, and it was frosting techniques for cupcakes, and the goal of it was to grow Facebook presence, brand new brand, and it was like, well, we'll start with the video. And to be honest, expectation was fairly kind of, well, this could work if it catches on. Facebook amplification, some Twitter amplification, loads and loads of likes, loads of views, but didn't really translate into sales. And we had agreed that kind of it was going to be a process where we move from one thing to the next, and it's going to organically grow. But it did kind of boil down to real world stats. So it was like kind of, those views are great, and it's great that we've got this community now, and when we do the next one and the next one. But I think if you can tie some real world kind of sales figure sign-ups, and you can get some of those as well, then you're really in kind of, that's where you want to be. Because otherwise, yeah, you're right, it can be a bit of vanity.
I think just adding to that, so I mentioned before, it was more so regarding mobile, which is there's too many businesses that are looking at last click. Now, if you looked at a video and said, you're not going to get a sale on the last click of a video. You might get a few sales. You're not going to get a huge amount. So the fact is you have to look at the context of the whole marketing campaign. What are you trying to achieve with it? The ultimate goal is we're going to be measured, I will be measured as an agency on the ROI that I drive through the entire campaign. They're not going to measure me just on the singular success of that video against their overall aspect of the business. So we will have softer metrics. We will have things that we can look at, which is reach, engagement, likes, plays, and so on and so forth, because that just provides us with some solid insight for the next video that we're then producing. However, we also need to understand what that engagement level was at the path to, during the path to purchase. And through that, how did that facilitate a search? How did that facilitate somebody engaging with an email campaign? And as a result, we can then bundle that together and report the hard metrics at the other end, which is this particular campaign that we created delivered the 10 times multiple ROI that you were seeking.
So I'll just add to what's been said. I agree entirely. But then I'm going to break it out and say when I'm reporting back to clients, I really do try and focus on the hard numbers, the dollars, how much money was made or how much potential money could be made, building up with if it's an awareness campaign or something like that. And then for my own business, the KPIs that I look at are different. I do care about money, but I also care about other things. And I'm friends with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I have one who will tell everyone he meets that his top KPI is like happiness or glee. If this makes him happy or people in his company happy, it's a good thing and it'll be done. And the more happiness he can achieve, the better. And so I think money's good, especially when you're working with clients, but I think when you're evaluating things from an internal company perspective, your own company, don't just look at the dollar figures. You might have different KPIs. One of my KPIs is travel. I give clients good discounts if they travel me to places I want to go. That's KPI.
Brilliant KPI. Right, guys, so we will bear that in mind. So for this session, I think happiness is a KPI, so this will be measured in the noise that you will be making at the end, right? No pressure. Okay, guys, so thanks, Sophie. Are there,
I've just got a quick question, guys. We had a hugely successful personal brand session earlier. How can individuals use mobile and video, do you think, in terms of building up their online personal brand?
It's easier to do. I think that's the fact of the matter. How many people are sat here on their iPhone at the moment?
or
Yeah.
Android, other operating systems?
Sorry, I should not show preferences whatsoever. Unlike this gentleman to my left, I've never heard of Manchester University. And the fact of the matter is, we're all capable of creating some level of video and some level of communication. So, get the iPhone out. Sorry, get the phone out. Smartphone. It's a smartphone. Get the smartphone out, and either have somebody video you or video yourself. The technology is good enough. Now, what we talked about earlier in the branding session is, creating a URL, which is whether you create a blog in it, whether it's your movable CV on there, whether it's you just talking about cats and dogs or pottery or whatever it might be. You can embed video on that, and it's so much easier. You can create websites. It's dead easy. You can do it all through WordPress. I'm not that technical. I run a digital agency, but I'm not that technical. But I can create a website, I can create a video, and I can embed that in video on it. So one thing we were saying, and you were mentioning before, Alex, about everybody getting the photograph taken for their LinkedIn profile. A picture tells 1,000 words, right? We look at it, we make judgments each and every day about what we think about that person when we see that image. So give them something better. Just make sure it's good, and make sure it's representing you in the right manner, and ask the people who are close to you and around you if what you want to say in that video is what's being communicated.
I'll add on to that, and I'll say watch what the kids are doing. Kids are now experts at personal branding because they've grown up with social media, and that's what social media is a way of personally branding yourself to the people that you know. This is native behavior for them, personal branding. And so young girls are creating how-to makeup videos and how-to hair tutorials and things like this, just as something to do. And they don't realize that what they're doing is personal branding. They think it's just fun or whatever. But when they get older, they've already created this digital presence, this resource that people can go to find out who they are and what they're about. And you should be careful to make sure that if you're doing things like that it's a good representation of who you are, especially if you're a silly teen. But look at what the kids are doing, and they do it with no thought, right? They just, we're going to do this right now. They don't clean up their room before they do it. And you can get away with that. You can too, even as an adult, although you should clean your room.
Yeah, just to sort of add to that, it just goes back to, if you want to create a personal brand, think of it like a business. Why? What do you want people to know about you? What do you want to project? And if you look at the rise of almost superstar vloggers and bloggers, they make substantial livings out of this because they've created brilliant personal brands. There's one, which I'll not mention who it is, but we looked at them to support a campaign, and they were talking into small thousands just to put one tweet out about a brand. So they're making substantial livings out of this, but that takes a lot of time, dedication, and work. So the same as your business, what do you want people to know about you? What do you want to stand for? Just be careful of that, because if you are doing this in social media, it's out there and it's very easy for people to criticize as well.
Brilliant. Okay, so Harish.
Hi.
I think it's on.
Hi. We're from a small startup that just recently started about a month ago. We're selling beard oils in the Northwest. Our website's all done. My questions are more about viral videos and how would a lot of this advice apply to us as a startup.
I guess the idea is that viral videos and green content, viral is something that spreads, and this is the problem with viral videos. What's one of those? It's just something you get ill, or maybe just something that spreads sort of naturally, and the organic or the green content, sort of whatever green is it, Richard, you're referring to it? Yes, video content, that's something that's like a how-to, sort of something that's very practical. So what would be your recommendation for a new startup to get some brand awareness?
Virals, we've done quite a lot of research and analysis at MEC, and we've actually done a lot of complex mathematical, algorithmic, some really clever guys in London who've been looking at trying to understand how content will go viral. But it's very difficult to predict, so part of it then just goes back to the planning process. Who do you want to engage with that content? What do you want them to do? And once you understand that audience, if you look at, do you want it to have an emotional value? Because that has a greater chance possibly to be shared. Does it have a specific social currency? That has a greater chance for it to be shared. If you look at the types of content that have really succeeded in the market, how to practical guide on how to get a mortgage or how to bleed a radiator, it's not really going to tick those boxes. So what type of content are you going to produce that really will resonate with that audience in either an emotional or a social currency kind of way? And even then it might not work. You might have to try 2, 3, 4 times. But if you do your research, use data as the backbone and plan it, you have a better chance than if you just sort of went at it and say, why don't we put some cats in there because everybody thinks cats are funny.
Yeah,
they are funny. But there's something. I think there is a stat that I can't remember the exact stat, but I think there was something like 16 million cat videos on YouTube. Yet there's only less than 0.1% are ever seen.
What kind of company was it? I couldn't hear that part.
It's a beard oil company. We're
Beard
selling
oil.
beard oil for men.
Beard oil.
Beard oil.
Oh, very trendy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Have you watched Mansome? It's on Netflix. It's
Yeah.
it's this So it's very trendy.
We've actually got some conversations going with a company called Bristler, which actually has a dating app similar to Tinder for
Okay.
bearded people.
You've got.
They're from
I
Manchester.
love it. I love it already.
They're from Manchester.
I think you've got a head start of
Yeah, there's so much you can do with that, and I mean, with that, it's so trendy, so hip, and you can be a little bit silly. And get away with it. Have a great time. Look at BuzzFeed. I think BuzzFeed's most recent model is get people drunk and on camera, and sometimes give them puppies, right? The drunk girl with puppies video is amazing. So like get them drunk and have them talking about men with beards, or have, whatever it is, or scratchy beards and the beard oil fixes it, whatever. But it doesn't have to be expensive. Just buy some beer and.
Obviously, drink responsibly. We're not suggesting
Yes.
you should.
Yeah,
drink
it's
something.
difficult. Yeah, it's
Taste
so
it and
difficult. You
pass
can't
it.
necessarily plan. You can't plan for viral. You can understand a little bit more why something might go viral, but the fact that you're now sat there and we now know it's beard oil, and it isn't an insurance company, it does suggest that you can have that emotion. The emotion is probably going to be laughter would be a good one, and also value of it as well.
Yeah, I think the thing with it as well is it's obviously the standard textbook answer that the audience decides whether it goes viral.
Yeah.
And so you can't, setting out to create a viral video is probably the wrong place to start, because you're probably going to do all, I think it's easy to jump to conclusions based on things you've seen before, so I'm guessing I won't be the first person to say to you about the Dollar Shave Club video.
That's just the worst thing.
But it's like, you're doing a beer company. Have you seen that $1 shave? It's like, yeah, I've seen that a million times. The thing, that video was very well put together, very well produced. It had all the data behind it, and yeah, it worked. And it cost a fortune. They didn't look it. I think so. The first one for me would be where is your audience? And